What's up? This is basically just part 2 of the previous lesson, but this time we're putting in ties and we're going to have dotted notes again. So ties, dotted notes. That's pretty much what this is all about. If you don't know what ties are, go back a couple of videos to the one that's called ties and slurs. Check that out, then come back to this one. And yeah, let's just have a recap of some of those rhythms that we're going to come across in this exercise. Let's go. Alright guys, so let's just have a look at this. These are all the different variations that we are going to come across in our following exercise. So let's just isolate them and run them a few times. So everything we come up against is already understood. Let's do it. First one, not too hard. With our new count, 1 and 2 and. Not too bad. Let's run that 3 times. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Pretty easy, that one. You guys get it. Next one, also not too difficult. We've seen plenty of this before. 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and. Yeah. The next one, the exact inverse of this. Instead of having a crotchet on our first beat, we now have it on our second. Let's do it. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. All right, our next one, a little bit tricky now. We have a quaver, a crotchet, then a quaver. So if we have our hits over our 2 beats, we've got 1 and 2 and, we'd find our 1 and, the crotchet carries into the 2, and then and for the quaver. So we're doing this, or if we're looking at this one, say in, the reference to our 4 beats here, we've got 1 and 2 and. Those 2 beats there is that crotchet. So let's run this. We've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. All right, our next one. So here we have our dotted crotchet. Goes for a beat and a half. That dot right there, that's what does it. It puts half of its original value on the end. And then we have a quaver. And this fills up 2 beats. 1.5 beats, half a beat. So we have 1 and 2 and. Let's do it again. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And lastly, we have the exact inverse of this one here. So we've got a quaver and then a hit that goes for a beat and a half. So this would be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Hopefully they all make sense. All right guys, so this is it. As you can see, we've got a bunch of ties all throughout this piece. Remember, you can slow it down or even pause it to have a look at this before we go through it. Also, we've slowed the BPM down to 50 beats per minute. All right, 1 bar in. Let's do it. 3, go. 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 2 and 4 and 1 2 and 4 and 1 2 and 4 1 2 and 1 2 and 1 2 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 3 and 4 4 and 1 and 4 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 and 4 and 1 and 4 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 4 and 1 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4. Sick one, guys. Only 2 lessons left, so keep it up. Again, pause it if you need, or slow it down. Ideally, you probably want to get through about 90% of this confidently. If you're slipping up here and there, that's okay, but if you're really kind of just being trash, you probably want to pause it and take a little bit more time with it. You know, make it easier for yourself, because realistically, you actually are learning to read another language, and this is hard, and you're doing awesome if you've got this far, so keep it up. Anyway, take it easy.